So words are impactful. I take you back to 1986 when I was a teacher for the first time in a public school, and my principal, Mr. Stern, called me into his office, and he said, I was visiting your room, and he told me some good things, which I have no idea what he said, because I don't remember the good things. And he said, your shades are crooked. And I said, okay. I said, I'll fix them, and we left. And I worked with him for many years after that, and we talked about it. He was one of my mentors, and I said, that always stayed with me, that my shades were crooked. And he said, well, he says, if you think about the little problems and you solve them, the big ones take care of themselves. And that's probably why I have this obsession with bulletin boards, that many of you who know me, and that's probably where it came from. But taking care of those little problems really are important. The details of things, really important. Athena Galitzis, who was my mentor in 1996 when I had my first principal job in PS 206 in Queens, called me in and we were talking, and she said, let me give you the best advice I can give you without being a principal. She said, you have to come to the realization that people are not going to like you. She said, not everybody. She said, but many people are not going to like you. And until you realize that and internalize that, you're going to have a hard time. Okay. Dr. Chesley, who was my superintendent in Bethel for 11 years, said every year at his convocation, I'm asking you to keep filling the cart even though the horse is blind. I had no idea what he was talking about. For 10 years, I really had no idea what he was talking about until I became a superintendent last year, and now I absolutely get it. I tell you these things because these three people were many of my mentors who I learned from. But at that time, I did not know they were my mentors. And so part of my talk today is really being a mindful educator, a mindful leader who thinks as they go through the process and the journey of working with kids and parents and teachers and communities. You never know who's going to have an impact on you, and you never know who you're going to have an impact on. Some of the most prominent teachers will tell you that they get these letters or they meet someone years and years after they've retired or they've stopped teaching, and it's from a student who tells you the impact that you've had on their lives by just some small thing that you said or did, and something that was really insignificant to you, but it has an impact on people. And that is very important as being a mindful leader and somebody who needs to have an impact on the world, which I think is definitely our purpose as we move forward. I just got done reading the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and I was thrilled because it really was about me. I've been leaning in for 30 years, but I just didn't know it. It's very fashionable now to lean in. And for those of you who did not read the book, basically she talks about women and balance and being a powerful person she was in Google, and I want to say Facebook now, or it's vice versa, but really trying to have it all, and maybe it's not about having it all, and maybe it's about having balance. So my message, especially to women, is to lean in, but with balance, grace, and integrity. And I say that because as I travel through different circles of my life, which include many, many different areas, from family to friends to Weight Watchers to school to gym classes, you hear from women who are always putting other people first. They put their kids first, they put their jobs first, and they don't take care of themselves first. But I think it's really important that we take care of ourselves first. I just got off a plane last week, and I was reminded of this when, at the beginning of every plane, They do the emergency training, and they talk about the oxygen falling, and they say, put the mask on yourself first, then take care of your children or people next to you. And that's really important. So just as a side comment, I think it's really important that we take care of ourselves first. We can't have it all, so we have to prioritize what's most important to us as educators, as women, as people, as we move forward. So I have been in education for 30 years. I do have 20 years in administration, which is fabulous. I love it. There was no better job than being a principal. I absolutely loved my work in elementary school, and I loved it in high school. And so I'm here to share with you some of my strategies as I think about being a leader and designing the future, because really that's what we're doing. So, first thing I think is you have to have a strong vision. You have to know where you're going. It's really important that you know that. And that's what Dr. Chesley was talking about. He knew where the horse and the cart were going, and he was asking people to trust him until they believed it also. And I've done that in my role as a superintendent. When you are a leader, you are looking from the balcony. Most of everyone else is on the dance floor dancing, but you have that view of what's going on for everyone. So sometimes people don't always understand all of the changes and all of the decisions, and you have to have the will and the strength to say, no, we're moving forward, and this is why. Surrounding yourself with smart people, really important. Okay, you cannot teach smarts. You can teach people to be good teachers. You can teach people content, but you can't teach them that inner feeling of caring and humanity and doing what's right, and effort. And that's really important when you're looking for people. So when you're looking to hire smart, hire people who have the same will to do your work, okay? My work is to change the world, okay? To make it a better place, okay? To provide opportunities for kids, for staff, for communities, okay? So you need to find people who have that passion. You have to treat all of your employees with respect. And unfortunately, I've seen too many people in leadership positions treat people without the respect they deserve. And when I say that, I mean, to me, a custodian is just as important as a teacher. A paraprofessional gets my same respect and my same attention as would a principal sitting with me or anyone else that I deal with. It's really important that everybody understands that their job is important and we're all working for the same thing. I was most proud in Bethel when the NEAS team came to visit and a custodian was able to tell them about not only the vision, but how we were achieving the vision as he was mopping the floor in the cafeteria. It was just a great, great moment because he was part of that vision and he felt that he had a say in what was going on in that school. So that really is very, very important to me. I think it's important that we learn to manage our time. Time is a constant. There is never going to be more time. That inbox is never going to be empty, and the work is never going to go away. So you have to prioritize. You have to be able to delegate. You have to be able to say, this is the most important. I'm not going to work on this. I am moving forward with this agenda and providing opportunities that will give me the biggest bang for my buck. Really important. In my early days, I worked a lot more hours. I had a lot less balance, and I was less mindful, so I didn't have that strategic plan that I have now. It's so important that you teach children, students, parents, community members to think. The world is changing. As we think about designing the future, and we think about being mindful in our interactions with people, we have to be a little nervous because I don't know what it's going to be like in 20 years, in 30 years. I don't know what the technology is going to be. I don't know what the curriculum is going to be. I don't know what the world is going to be. But I do know that we have to start to design programs and opportunities that kids to think critically, to solve problems, to work together cooperatively. So anything you can do that fosters that is really important. I loved Mr. Pirate when he was talking about taking risks, because if someone comes to me and says, can we do this? I say yes. I say yes. As long as you're willing to do the work and put in the energy, I say yes. Really important. Taking risks is how you learn. You learn from failure, you learn how to tweak, you learn how to make improvements, you see what works, you see what doesn't. Really, really important to me. So I think it's important that we encourage people to take risks. I think the other thing that's really most important to me also is to build capacity. I feel that as educators, we have a strong role in promoting our schools, our profession, and developing capacity as we move on. It's very sad when you hear about the shortage of principals and administrators and people who want to move up the ranks and to lead our schools, because we need strong leaders, and it's our jobs to develop them. So anything you can do to develop people, whether it's at the college level, whether it's at the school level, whether it's in the community, a parent group, is really very important. You have to have that eye. You have to look for people, see what's best in them, and help them to move, to make improvements, and to develop maybe leadership skills in those areas. Okay, so that's always very important. So when I think about my legacy and my purpose in my profession, which I have devoted much of my life to, happily, I think about what Peter Drucker said. And he said that it really doesn't matter so much what happens while you're there. What matters most is what happens when you leave. I am very, very thrilled that in all of the buildings that I have been a leader in, that they are flourishing. And they're flourishing because good people have taken over, and things have been put in place that have made a difference in the lives of the students and the kids and the communities where the schools exist. So when I think of that, and I think about you, I think about asking you to reflect and be mindful. What do you want when you leave? What do you want to be able to say or do when you retire and you finally hang up your shingle? What do you want your colleagues to say about you? What do you want kids to say about you? What do you want your legacy to be? If you are a leader in an organization or a school, what have you put into that program, into that organization that will allow it to flourish? Because that's what you want it to do. You want it to be not only better when you leave, but continuously get better with the other people. How can you inspire and excite people to continue this work that we have that is so very important? There are some Patisms that I like to share with people, and some people know what they are and some people don't, but I always say that life is good. I love those shirts, so nice and soft. But I also say that life is short, and that you should work hard, but you should play harder. I believe that. I believe it's important that you have that balance. My newest one was probably practice an attitude of gratitude, because I am very, very grateful to be in this wonderful profession, surrounded by such wonderful professionals and people who touch my heart and touch my life every day. And there is so much negativity around us in the world and with a lot of people that we work with, and I think we have to be a beacon of that positive energy. Okay? It's so important. It's so important. So that's another thing that I wish that you would take with you. Also, take the high road. You know, it's so easy to get down and dirty when there's no need to do it, okay? So I kind of try to let things, you know, go off my back if I can. So, as I start to close and we think about designing the future, and we think about assessing what we do, I hope that I am judged today in this TED Talk, not by what I have said, but the impact it has on you in the next couple of days, the next couple of months, as you go out in the world and you work with our students and our communities to have an impact in this wonderful community that we live in and in this wonderful educational profession that we are part of. Thank you.